Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of ND and ABA with Martin and Dan. I'm your host, Martin, and alongside of me is Dan. Dan, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Martin. It's excellent to be here after going to Hele for Autism out in Hawaii on the island of Oahu today, out at Ala Moana Beach Park. I was there with many providers supporting autism and many parents, people with autism, walking and raising both money and awareness and acceptance through the Autism Society of Hawaii. So it was, amazing. I've still got my HRE shirt too. So, I was
Awesome.
very happy, relaxed, and engaged, and excited to be here. We have a wonderful guest lined up. Welcome to Dr. Shane T. Spiker, at Dr. Shane T. Spiker on Instagram. If you guys follow him, he's a very well-known behavior analyst in the community, and we're really pleased to have you here, Shane. Anything you've been doing today that's exciting?
Oh man, first thank you all for having me. This is so exciting. I'm so excited to dive into some of this stuff. Today, what did I do? I read a lot. I did a lot of reading today. I got to go get some ice cream with my niece and nephew, so that was cool. And just got to do a little bit of relaxing. I tend to save Saturdays as like my I tend to protect Saturdays as like my big self-care day. So it's like usually those you'll find me on Saturdays doing absolutely nothing and just kind of winding down from the week. So, but it's been a nice and calm day. I can't complain. And it's beautiful here in Florida. It's like 60 degrees. It's sunny, not a cloud in the sky. So I can't complain about that.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? I know what you mean out here in Hawaii. How's it out there in Santa Clara, Martin?
It was a little cold today. Yesterday was a lot warmer than it was, and just had another rainstorm. And apparently, we're supposed to get yet another one. So, yeah, just a lot of rain and cold weather.
All right. Well, wherever you are, we hope that you are enjoying the week, not just because of the weather, but because it has been a wonderful start to Autism Acceptance and Awareness Month. So, there was a lot of very wonderful advocacy campaigns that went out this week. One, for instance, on March 5th, there was the Profound Autism Summit. And if you missed that, you can still learn all about how the Profound Autism Alliance is advocating for individuals with profound autism through their website and their Instagram page. We'll put the link below. It's very important to raise acceptance for this community. It's a little known fact that 1 in 4 autistic individuals has been identified with profound autism. So it's a significant population. And, a lot of individuals in that population, I will say, rely heavily on services. So it's important to make sure we are both representing ourselves and progressing our fields of study in the most inclusive and the most ethical, dignified ways. Uh, Again, I'm so happy to have Dr. Shane T. Spiker with us. We care deeply about both adults with profound autism and adults who may be looking into things in their adult life now that consider dating as well as relationships and how they might go about transitioning throughout their lives in these interactions with significant others and so forth. So we are very excited to talk about the ABS lab. And Shane, I'm wondering if you can tell us more about your project.
Yeah, so I think it's worth kind of getting into a little bit of the background on like where I come from on this before like this is one of those I'm from the South and so I tend to be a storyteller. So just bear with me as we go through this. So
Yeah.
I when I got into the field, when I started working in behavior analysis, I started working with adults and I started working with folks that and these were folks that were autistic, and these were folks that were also had developmental delays and different types of diagnoses. So I worked in that space for quite some time, and so I ended up getting a lot of work with folks who would engage in this kind of highly dangerous sexual behavior. They would end up hurting people. They would be involved in legal processes and stuff. And there wasn't a lot of research and support for those programs. There was a research unit out of Gainesville for a little bit called the Seguin unit, but that closed down. And so what you start noticing is when you dive into the literature in behavior analysis, you start discovering that there's not a lot of research on sexuality in general. Unfortunately, so there's just it's not a topic that people touch. And so this last November, I was invited to speak at Ontaba, and I got to give a huge shout out to the Ontaba folks because they're doing some really amazing work up there. Their community is doing really cool stuff and really building a fascinating space to work. But I got to go speak up there and connected with Dr. Jess Kauke, and she's a behavior analyst in Canada and doing some of the similar work, having similar discussions around sexuality education and whatnot. And we just started talking, and we talked about actionable things. And so that's kind of where the Applied Behavioral Sexuality Lab came from, was this space where a lot of people are talking about doing research, but everybody keeps saying, we need more research, we need more research, we need more research, but nobody's going and doing the more research part of it. Or, we're not finding out, people aren't really talking about that. So we created the Applied Behavioral Sexuality Lab. We're calling it the ABS Lab, or the ABS Lab for short. We created that as a space to start kind of building and developing research and resources and tools for folks, practitioners, to be able to at least have some kind of information around this stuff. Not necessarily be competent, like that's not something that we expect, but to actually spend some time gaining resources, being able to provide job aids, tools, and stuff like that to folks, because there's just a looming gap in that area of our field. So that's kind of where it started, and that's kind of where we ended up now. That's where we're at right now. Very early stages of that lab.
Wow, that's really incredible, and that's what we're all about here on ND and ABA. We want to both bridge and fill gaps that exist in the service community and the support community for neurodivergent individuals. And so what you're doing is really groundbreaking stuff, and it's all about, something I think Martin is very passionate about as well, which is providing people who care with the proper equipment to help. And so, we're not going to be able to help if we don't have that equipment. So part of that equipment is actually getting this discussion going and getting your data support for effective support methods that apply to sexual behaviors, right? And it can be hard to talk about. Even just going through puberty and going, through those changes in a teen's life can be very sort of variable for anybody in, let's say, an ABA service program. But as we go further in life, we still have puberty, and we still have, things up into our mid-20s that present in different ways that we're going to need help with. Ingrown hairs, let's say, actual, sexual orientation, and let's talk as well about gender identity. It's something that really comes into play for many individuals, both on the spectrum and many individuals in general at this age of maturing into post-puberty and beyond, right? Entering in past the latency period that they call it in your childhood, can be a challenge for anyone. So for autistic individuals, we need to be there. We need to find some way to show up with some kind of support plan. Martin, I'm curious, what are your main things that you're really excited about so far for Autism Acceptance Week, and what are some of the exciting events or supportive initiatives going on right now?
The one thing I'm excited about so far about Acceptance Week is people are starting to hear what we have to say. And I know that's a great step, but there's still those times where those step backs happen. There's still a lot of work to be done. And one of the things that I did, and I talked about this the other day, but I forget who it was, but I actually created this, see if I don't drop it. The
Careful.
proclamation right here.
Oh yeah.
So I'll read it out. That's fine. It says here, City of San Jose Proclamation. Whereas the City of San Jose is committed to equal opportunity, equity, and inclusion for all residents, including residents with ASD who we accept without judgment. And whereas the community and their allies recognize and accept the diversity and inclusion of all cultures, ethnicities, genders, and sexes into the autistic spectrum. And whereas individuals with ASD have different ways of learning, processing information, and interacting with people and objects. They are our classmates, colleagues, and friends who greatly contribute to our city. And during the month of April, we strive to promote autism awareness, inclusion, acceptance, and self-determination for all, and assure that each person with ASD is provided with an opportunity to achieve the highest possible quality of life. Therefore, I'm Matt Mahan, Mayor, City of San Jose, along with my colleagues and the City Council on this day, April 28th, do hereby recognize and proclaim April as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month to show, recognize, and show our appreciation to our residents with ASD.
Wow.
It's beautiful. I love that.
So I wrote this, the letter to the mayor, and written out a proclamation about this happened last year, so we're officially starting this year. It took about 4-ish months to hear back, and when they approved of it, I picked that up, and it's honestly been great. And I've also, one thing that I'm very excited about is working with legislation of getting a Senate bill created to really help the autism community. And I'm opening up with a sensory room. It's debuting April 20th over at a recreational center in Morgan Hill. And I'll be working with a group called Corazon Care. And it'll be mostly ages like 3 to 5 or something to start out with. But it's honestly lining up to be a very exciting month to help bring acceptance to this wonderful community.
Wow, that's awesome, and it's really coming up fast. If anyone's looking for something to do on April 20th, go check out the premiere of Martin's Sensory Room. I certainly wish that I can fly overseas to get there in time, but I might not actually make it. Though Shane, feel free to jump on the plane, check it out for me. I'd love to.
Right, for sure. I'll keep you posted.
Oh, yeah. Regardless, Martin, we're so proud of you, and a lot of the things you do inspire so many individuals, not just autistic individuals, but people who are clinicians like you and I and Shane. We see what you do, and we know that there is a way to raise acceptance and awareness through our work that we're passionate about, right? And one of the things that's so great, that you're able to do is get people to listen, right? So I wonder if you have any advice for the community of people with autism or their families who feel like perhaps they're having a difficult time this week, especially getting people to actually see them, to actually listen to what they have to say.
Right. Yes, that's a good question, actually, and hopefully this makes sense. Sometimes it's hard for me to answer correctly for some questions, but I'd say don't be afraid to speak out or to share your voice. We all deserve to have a voice in the community, and most of the time a lot of people would think that either it's in our head or think that, oh, you're not autistic. Just because we don't look autistic doesn't mean that we're not. And but like what I'm doing right now, it's this term called masking. I don't know if you've heard of it, but most of us mask because we don't really want to be the odd person out, or like the one that doesn't have a voice, so we mask most of the day, which I'll actually share a link to my masking video in the comment section or in the description box. And we just want to be able to share what we have to say without feeling like we will be judged. And things need to change. and it will take a while. I will admit it will take a while, but I feel with months like these, it's at least a good step in the right direction, even though there's so much more that needs to be done.
Definitely. So, to everyone listening, please make that space for autistic people to express themselves without fear of being judged. I think that is paramount in order to have autism acceptance be something we all embody going forward from this month on. And it's really an important thing to make sure that people know that they don't always have to mask, right? And maybe as people as people in society, we all should unmask a bit. Okay, perhaps it's okay to be yourself, and that's something we all tell our
Mhm,
everybody and our children, but we should do as we
mhm,
say, should we not? You know, and perhaps that would make autistic people feel more comfortable and less
mhm,
judged for being themselves, saying what they have to say, and approaching very difficult times in their lives, such as uh, puberty and going into the realm of thinking about sexual behaviors, relationships, and interpersonal difficulties later on in life that we all have trouble with
Hmm.
and help with from time to time. I want to remind everybody, and part of that is is helped if we all feel the space to express ourselves without fear of judgment, right? So
Right.
I'm sure all the people in couples therapy are nodding their heads listening along to the podcast. I'm
mhm.
not an FT, but if you have one, shout out to them. And yeah. Shane, I'm wondering, since you've done so much research on it, what is perhaps the best advice to anybody going into that period, or anybody with maybe family members and they're trying to help them the best they can?
Oh, so that's a great question. I think that I think that whenever you talk about just the world of sexuality and what that looks like for anybody involved, it's a very broad discussion. But I think the biggest thing and the best advice I can give anybody who's working, I mean, really truly working in any space at all, is just focusing on health and safety. Is if you are focusing on working with that person to stay safe, to stay healthy, to prevent preventable diseases, to prevent situations that are unsafe, then I think everything else will kind of align. What I notice a lot is that even in spaces where people's values clash, where there are folks that just they can't get along, they can't seem to say like can't get to the same kind of table, they can't get to the same agreement or anything like that. What I tend to find is that when you get to the conversation about safety and the value of safety and making sure that somebody's loved
Mhm,
one is cared for, or that person who is involved wants to be safe, that's the shared value that I see in almost every circumstance. Even if your viewpoint on how to get there is different, at least everybody values and agrees that, like, yes, I want my loved one to be safe. I want them to feel safe. And by doing that, health comes along, quality of life comes along, those things. That's a really great, I think, linchpin starting point for people to look at. But that's where I would start. I would say, if you are unsure of what to like where to start that conversation, usually safety is a good place to start.
Absolutely. For a lot of difficult conversations that are hard to start, I think that
Yes.
a rule of thumb we can go by. We want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to feel safe, which sometimes is more important because feeling safe kind of helps us stay safe. But by
Hmm.
regulating our decision making in scenarios where we get scared. When we're scared, sometimes decision making is hard to do, to say the least, right? And there are both what they call in ABA respondent and operant effects. When fear comes into play, everything we kind of learn in ABA, unfortunately, slightly goes out the window because it's having to do with operant conditioning, and fear actually affects our brain in a way that all, sort of animals experience as well in their fight or flight response. A lot of people have heard of the reptilian brain and the fight or flight response and the amygdala and all that is, for you psych students out there, is basically what is indicating you're having a fear-based response, when those things light up in a neuroscientific context. And if you know that that sort of primitive region of the brain is acting, and responding to a different type of learning than operant conditioning, responding conditioning when you're afraid, and that means, shouldn't we give everyone a break for maybe doing the wrong thing now and again when they're afraid? Yeah, it's going, whatever they're going to do is by nature against all training, action, and learning and everything they've ever experienced. It's just going to be an instinctual type of response when they're afraid. An example is, your mom is so calm until she gets up on a gondola and she remembers she's afraid of heights and starts, crying and screaming. I mean, probably not one of you guys' moms, but somebody's mom, is afraid of heights, I'm sure. Or, I could say I'm afraid of heights, but I remember once I was on a ski trip very clearly with my friend and his parents, and they were great parents. They adopted the son, and they were like super respectable. Never once like had a moment of lacking that parental integrity, until this mom got on the gondola. That is all completely changed, right? And I was surprised as a child, not knowing that. That's another interesting point I want to bring up as well. Parents and caregivers in support systems of autistic people might be afraid during this time of what might come for the people they care about and what's going to occur when talking about these things to begin with as well. So if you're afraid, it's perfectly natural, and you might sometimes make a mistake, and you should be forgiving to yourself as well. Remember that
Right.
safety helps with fear a lot, right? Why do we have safety
Well,
in ways?
right. And I think there is a conversation in there too that a lot of times, people fear what they don't know. And the state of sexuality education in at least the United States is abysmal at best. So, when we start talking about what people are afraid of, a lot of times they just don't know what could possibly happen or what outcomes could come up for their loved ones, or even really kind of understanding anything about whatever presenting situation has come up for them. And and I will say, like, I'm very fortunate because most of the experiences I've worked in is that the folks that are caring for the person or that person themselves, like everybody that's involved, tends to just want what's best for them. And everybody has different views and ideas of usually that comes from a place of like, I love you so much that I want to protect you, when there's problems with that, right? Like that's the overbearing parent that puts too many protections in place and causes problems because they're so fearful of what could happen. And then you remove this dignity of risk, right? There's so many things that happen inside of that. And I truly believe, and this is the part of me. Most people don't see this part of me. I tend to be a little bit more of a cynic, but I do tend to be optimist about humans, and I do believe that most humans love each other and care for each other and want what is best for the people they care about. And they may do it in entirely wrong ways, and they may do it and they may mess up along the way. We've all messed up along the way, but I do think that there is like at least the general good naturedness of I just want my loved one to have what they need and be safe. And and I think fear does play a role in that. I think the conversation about fear is absolutely, people are afraid of what could happen. And there are countless outcomes that could be a significant problem for people, anybody that's in this space. But I think that there is a special conversation around that, and just knowing that parents are absolutely fearful. I've got two kids myself. I am terrified of the things that they do. I'm terrified of things they do. And so it makes sense. I totally relate to that idea of like, I just want to make sure that nothing bad happens to this person I really care about?
Totally. And you know what? Being courageous in that moment for parents and caregivers and whoever, friends, even for yourself, being courageous in those moments, it really makes you a true a true hero in a lot of ways. You can be there for somebody. And there is a way to express that if you feel fear for them, just to let them, let them know how much you maybe care, and how to be safe, right? Uh, Martin had a really inspiring quote from his song that he recently produced on Spotify. And if you guys saw our live on April 2nd for Autism Acceptance Day, he kind of talked about it, but we're going to definitely put the link in the description below, because it's really powerful. There's a really, if you listen to the lyrics, there's a strong connection in what our support figures, our support people, what do they mean to us as humans? And yeah, Martin, what was the name of your song again? I can't remember the name on top of my head.
Yeah, just a little backstory too. We had to release it with me as the guest, the main person being my music instructor, since we're using his account. But it's called Celestial Radiance.
Oh yeah, that's right, Celestial Radiance. And yeah, if those of you guys who like EDM, I really recommend this. Or those of you who sometimes you don't like all EDM. I'm one of those guys who likes country, folk, bluegrass, blues. I still jammed out to Celestial Radiance. It's the first time I listened to it. It's got a really good build, really good beat, and really, pulls in the heartstrings with the lyrics.
So, and it was just some lyrics that we found, but it kind of resonated. So it kind of, in the beginning, it goes, oh boy, I hope I remember this. We're drifting in the dark. Can we do better? I wish I could rewind back to the start so I can get better. But with part of that, of course, we don't have like a time machine to go back and fix things. And so we're in a dark place. And then it goes, um, heaven is shining down rays of gold, cover me with your light and take me home. And with that part, it's like we're kind of lost on the path of course. So these rays of gold light our path back to, even though we made those mistakes in the past, we're on the right track to happier days ahead. And that was kind of the reason for and it was my first ever track too that I was able to create.
So great.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I'm a musician. I love putting stuff up. So like whenever you get to write music and share it with the world, it's like the best feeling ever. It's so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Just curious, did you have any music out there, Shane, that we could listen to?
Yeah, but y'all don't want to hear that. It's a whole thing. So I'll send it to you outside of this, because people are gonna find that and be like, oh, Shane probably needs to go talk to a therapist. So
Okay. Well, I'll check it out on my own time. Sorry about that one. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
you're fine.
I just got chills every time you do the lyrics from your song. I can hear what it means to you, and I think that's why I just wanted you to bring it up. So yeah, and I believe you've mentioned your mom, right, is really inspiring to you as well. And to all parents of an autistic child, you are their hero. You're their guiding light. You're the rays of gold. You carry them home. I saw so many parents at Hele for Autism out here in Oahu today, and they were all just, wonderfully taking care of their kids. There was a bounce house out there, and then it was so funny. One of the dads, he came up and he was like, and then there was another little girl in the bounce house, and she took it upon herself to enforce the rules and was trying to kick my son out. And so I went in there and jumped right in and was like, no, like he's staying, like and I don't know. It was just really great to see all the parents, risk their knees and their wake up early in the morning to go jump around in Ala Moana Beach Park with their kids and have pop their balloon swords. I made several hundred of over there, very loudly. It was just a blast. And gosh, that's the type of autism acceptance and awareness I really like to see. I'm going to be honest, I like to see it celebrated. I want to see everybody with their family together in public, enjoying that 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 feeling of community, right? And that there's no reason to be ever ashamed or hide or fear judgment, right? So, that's
For
part of
sure.
what we're talking about today. And I think we can sum it all up is, with all these things, with autism acceptance, with sexuality, with just not being judged. We want to have HRE, right? You know what I mean? The point of HRE, for those of you guys who don't know, it's a Hanley's principle that means a student learns best when they're happy, relaxed, and engaged. And if you're not happy, relaxed, and engaged, then essentially that's just not a good time to learn something that you're going to be using, in your everyday life as a skill, right? Or develop in any way. And it can be harmful when you're developing when you're not happy, relaxed, engaged. It can be,
Right.
some people think of as traumatic, right? So, and it can be traumatic. I won't say they think of it as, I don't want to invalidate them because that can be very traumatic. So, anyways, no matter what, if you are just hanging out and you want to support somebody who has a child on the autism spectrum, even, or if you want to, if you have a autistic son or daughter yourself, or I even talked to these grandparents earlier today who they just wanted to, know more about things so that they could feel like if they came around, there wouldn't be any fear of judgment from their relatives. They wanted them to feel comfortable and not to feel, judged at all by different things they were doing with music or whatever it is. And a lot of people are curious about that. They're like, oh, what are the sensory things I'm doing wrong, or what did I say that made things go awry, and why is it that sometimes things don't go the way I plan with the people they care about who are artistic. And what I've been telling these people is, it's really more about sometimes how well you know the person, right? And that rapport between you, in order for them to know that you're there for them regardless of what they're doing, right? If they're afraid of being judged, then of course they're not going to want to engage with you very much at that time. Also, if you know a few things that they like, it certainly goes a long way. If something difficult is happening at you know at a party or something, and you need to help them relax, right? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
What you like, and you can ask them what they might help them when they've had the time to get the space to ask you for help. And that's what HRE is all about, right? Safety by giving people the time to feel comfortable again, then ask for help. Empowering them by giving them the things they want and like, regardless of what fear-based reaction just occurred that you're not holding against them. Okay? So HRE for sexuality, it's happy, relaxed, engaged. I don't know if this goes in line with your ABS labs, but I wonder if that could be a interesting concept in that regard, right? It's a similar, kind of reminds me of the concept I hear about of enthusiastic consent, or in a dating context, but also in therapy we want consent from our patients as well, and we also want assent, right? And in order to interpret consent and assent, I think you should be able to first check that box that, all right, this person I'm interacting with is happy, relaxed, comfortable to the best of their ability, and engaged to the best of their their ability right now, and they're not unhappy, stressed, and withdrawing from me, basically,
Right.
is what it implies. And so, yeah, again, I love the concept. I was just going ham at Heli for Autism, talking all about it, you guys can tell. Uh, Before we go on such a huge tangent, let's see really quickly here. I want to really quickly apologize for everyone who is expecting Dr. Naseem to show up today at Dubai Autism Doctor. We're going to have him next time. Unfortunately, he just got a little
Under the weather, yeah.
Yeah, so we're really glad again Shane could join us on short notice, and we've been wanting to have him for a while. So this was honestly really great timing. And Shane, before we end today, I just want to give you the opportunity to raise awareness or talk about any of the work you're doing or publications, anything you want to tell our audience about. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for having me. As far as the work I'm doing, I think, I don't think that I'm doing nearly the important work that I think other folks are doing. So I definitely would defer to folks that are doing really cool things. I think of like bearded behaviorist is one of my favorite. Brian, I love referencing him. So go talk to him. Go talk to, Dr. Cerdos. Go talk to all the folks that are doing that cool work. Like, please listen to them because they're doing some cool stuff. As far as stuff that I've been working on, we have the abs lab going on. I do a lot of training and I work at positive behavior supports, so I want to make sure I give them a shout out because they do some really cool work with me and stuff like that, and they let me kind of do things all over the place. So like I really appreciate them. Um, I do have a publishing company, so I am the co-owner of Sixth and Center Publishing. So we publish all kinds of books, fiction, poetry, stuff like that. But we also do some behavior analytic books, and we have right now on pre-sale a behavior analytic assessment that focuses on autonomy for all learners and building skills around that. So we're really excited about that. I feel like that's a very empowering tool that folks will want to use, and that's by Robin Arnell or Robin Arnold and Alex Elfers. So Alexandra Elfers. So super super awesome folks. Super stoked to get that out. And I think I'll be doing some speaking engagements this year. I'll be at HABA this year, so I'll see you in September. I'll be at FABA in Florida, and a few more things coming up. Patton, if you see me there, so I'll be at a few different places this year. So if you see me, come say hi. But that's all I got. So I hope the rest of the month goes well, and please listen to the folks that are doing this really cool work, you folks included, right? Like, please keep doing it because we need this. We need these conversations. So, that's about all I got to say about that, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shane. And you know what? I have to shout out to PBS too. I used to do some great work with them on Island as well. And I hope to see you at HABA. For those of you who don't know, it's Hawaii ABA. It's our convention out here. There's also, FABA as well that is going on in Florida. There's ABA conventions going on all year. So it's also a great time if anyone goes to raise autism acceptance and talk about things that you feel are important in the field, keep the discussion going. And again, don't be afraid of being judged. Just, get this data so that people can be right. That's what behavior analysis is all about. It's not about whether or not we're we are as a whole one way or the other. It's about how we use the tools that we're building now. And if it's being used in a way people don't like, then that's no good. So that's why we need to talk about it. Equip people with the understanding to use behavior analysis for the best intentions that it was meant to be used for. Martin, is there anything that? Sorry about that, Shane.
No, you're good.
You off, but yeah, really, yeah, that stuff is really important to us here, and I want to make sure that we shout out as well. I know, Martin, you do a lot of good work with CSD, and there are really great providers out there who are still working very hard every day to advance what they're doing forward, right? And advance the discussion. So we always give a pat on the back. I'm going to give it to you for that, everybody. Everybody who's out there, you went to LA for Autism or you went to a convention this year and you're out there discussing, raising awareness, or if you're just on LinkedIn, give yourself a pat on the back. That's amazing. And that's what we need to be doing in order to keep what we love alive, right? And help the people that we care to serve. Martin, sorry, I was gonna ask you before, but
No worries.
I know that we kind of interrupted you talking about your song, and
You're good.
a lot of exciting things going on this month, and
Mhm.
yeah, I just wanted to see, what's going on in the future besides your sensory room opening up.
Um, I today was my first day of Special Olympics track and field. Um, our first competition, if I remember here, I got it on my phone somewhere. Um, Usually I tend to forget like what day. April 27th is my first ever competition really against other people, so I'm looking forward to that. Working on new music. I have This is so much. It's hard to I don't want to go on and on about it, but yeah, there's just so much. It's so interesting as an autistic person. Like for me, it's hard to stay still. I do so many things because it's like it's hard to explain. But one other thing that I am hoping to accomplish this year, and if any conference organizers watch this, I would love to be a speaker. Like I've done multiple speaking engagements online. I've done a few in person, and the feedback that I've been getting has been incredible. I mean, most of the people I that I've or that have heard me say like be because of you, like you give me as a parent so much hope, and like I've had people tell me because of you, I haven't given up. And some have even stated that they are sharing their autism diagnosis with their work because they're no longer afraid to share it. And so, just so many great things. And finally, what else? Oh boy, I just lost my train of thought.
Well,
But no,
though,
yeah, it's just so many exciting things happening that I look forward to bringing up in future episodes.
yeah, definitely. And you know what? We'll definitely include anything if we forgot to mention in the description below. But wow, Martin, it's just incredible to see you as a college student, as an activist, as an author, as a business
Mhm.
owner, and an athlete all at the
Yeah.
same time. As and a musician. I forgot.
Mhm.
And really, it's inspiring to anybody, I think. And it also just goes to show that there are so many things that autistic people can actually do. Right? Not everybody does the same thing, but if you're interested in something, and if you also, like you said, if you have a hard time sitting still, there's so many activities that we want to be inclusive and there for autistic people that I think when they see you getting out there, Martin, and they see you being an athlete and you being a music producer and you or a musician and you being author, business owner, college student, right? That shows them that they can do it too, right? And
Yep.
and everything you said about masking is so it's so true and powerful that of course people are masking so frequently, but
And
when
it's taxing on us too, because it's
yeah.
like we get tired after a full day, and I feel like I mean, masking is not even really talked about a whole lot. I mean, it's it's like a double-edged sword in a way. So on one side of the sword, you got like it's great because we're able to communicate with others, make friends, and get through the day. But on the other hand, is when that other side shows up, and it's very draining, and we just really don't want to do anything after school or work. So it's definitely interesting for sure. But talking about masking is super important, especially in today's society.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know our history, Martin and I, we haven't been friends for years or anything like that. I myself was incredibly inspired by one of his videos on uh, sort of 10 things that people need to know and misconceptions about autism.
Hmm.
And when I saw this video, I remember I was just at BCBA, just moving to Hawaii, and even way out here, I saw him advocating through this lens, through my employer in one of the trainings, and
Hmm.
I was instantly forced to grapple with the important constructs that, yes, there is that 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 experience for many autistic people, that ABA has been a difficult situation that they did not enjoy, and there's
Hmm.
been many times where there is maybe lacking consistency or lacking in quality of service that affects individuals. But at the same time, if you're able to be there for somebody and be that hero for them, that makes all the difference. And if you can do that, then that's why we're here. And
Hmm.
over 10 misconceptions of autism. I heard what Martin was saying, and I knew immediately, because of how actually he unmasks during his videos, that this was serious and real, and that to be honest, I have to thank him. I have to thank you, Martin, because I
Hmm.
honestly would not still be able to grapple with the guilt of things being in the field if I had never heard what you said, that it inspired me to say, yes, it's true. Both things are true, and that we need to do our best to make the best world with the best practices we know. And
Hmm.
if you can do that, then it does make all the difference. For those of us who are
Yeah.
still working hard every day, that does make all the difference. Give yourself another pat on the other side. You know what I'm saying? It's really important to know that whatever people say, you know, about the support system that's there for autistic people, whether you can see it right now with the social and political sphere that ABA is in. That support system is there because individuals care, basically. And I care, Martin cares, this too, and then Shane cares, and that's three. And our
Hmm.
friend Brian, Bearded Behaviors, he cares. App Behavior, John, Jared Van, Education, if you guys remember that. So they care too. Um, our friends, at ABA in the Wild, if you guys follow their account on Instagram,
Yep.
Hmm.
care as well deeply about employee health and wellness, as well as the health and wellness of autistic and neurodivergent
Right.
people. Yeah, they actually champion employing neurodivergent people at a company called Zen Decoded. I know that the owner of the account actually runs that organization. They do tech consulting, and so but very inspiring to see individuals again championing neurodivergent employees.
Yeah.
And that's something that, what does it do? It removes that fear of being judged, right?
Hmm.
And that's like what you said, Martin. It's powerful because you'll have people coming up saying, now I have no fear. I have
Right.
sharing my diagnosis with my coworkers, and I have no fear, like Shane, of sharing my diagnosis on a date with somebody or something like that,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we can all live in that world, and this April is a big part of bringing that forward. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here, Shane, and
Yeah.
I
yeah,
have one more
Anytime.
thing to say.
go for it, Martin.
So, and this kind of ties in with HRE, of course. I think that's what it is, right? HRE.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, perfect. I know most of the time, from my experience, some ABA sessions are difficult for these kids because they go to school, they have speech therapy, and then they have ABA right after. But it's like, in order for HRE to take place, don't always jump in like right off the bat and run these different goals, because it just could make things worse, and session could not go as well as normal. So that's what's like, it would be important just to take things slow to start with, because if you just rush things, it could end up chaotic. And probably every SBS or BCBA has probably seen their fair share of a very tough session because of how tired these kids are from their day, and so I just wanted to bring that up.
You're so right,
Love that.
Martin. And, yeah, I want to end us on that note, and everyone just remember that it's important to take breaks in between their different programs and goals and activities and things that we do in life. It's important to give ourselves the appropriate amount of time to get back to the state of HRE, of happy, relaxed, engaged, so that we can learn and we can thrive as people. Think of it as NCR breaks. Give yourself a guarantee that you'll be able to have that time to regulate yourself until you're ready with HRE to continue on with your day.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyways, you guys, I know we're a little bit over the time, but I think that it was well worth packing it all
It
in there.
was.
And yeah, I mean, why not on Autism Acceptance Week? Why not go an extra few minutes? I think that it's well worth it. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Check out at Dr. Shane T. Spiker on Instagram. Again, check out his ABS lab and go, listen to Martin's music. Listen to it on Spotify. We're putting the link below so you guys can jam out all you want. Myself and Behavior Bro, we're gonna be jamming a little bit soon. On you guys see that, you'll see my banjo, and I hope you look forward to watching me slightly embarrass myself. No, but, Dr. Shane said, we like to play music. A lot of us behavior analysts do, and it's that again. It's just even more impressive that Martin, you're doing all this amazing stuff so professionally in a larger degree than we're doing it right now. Just in our hobby, you are actually exceeding us in the way that you have been able to extend yourself and outreach into the community musically. So everybody just please, if you feel like somebody could benefit from Martin's advocacy and his information, go to spireautism.com and look at his new blog about autism acceptance, and look at the resources for first responders, and check out his book, Chatterbox, My Life with Autism. All right. Well, it's been a wonderful ND and ABA on Autism Acceptance Week, and I'm so glad that we could end the week by hanging out with Dr. Shane and talking about some really important stuff. So we'll see you guys next time, and thank you for joining.
All right. Perfect.